everybody knows the housekeeping when it comes to Zoom, because we've all been using Zoom for the last couple of years. But just to remind you, if you have any questions to ask, put them on a chat box, and you're all going to be muted. So we're going to use the chat box for any questions that you might have during the workshop, and I will be moderating those as it comes along. Some we can address immediately, or we can address it at the end of our workshop. Just wanted to keep this slide up here for just 30 seconds for you guys to just kind of read. There's also a disclaimer down below. I'd like to introduce myself to you while you're reading this. Melody Benabu here from NexInfo. I've been in the industry for technology solution sales for 23 plus years. And I am based here in Southern California, based in our headquarters. I'd like to go over, next slide, please. I'd like to go over our agenda for today. It's a couple of hours of workshop. We're going to have a break for about 5 minutes. So I'll let you guys know when that would be. So I'm going to start with about NexInfo, kind of give you some information of who we are, what we do. Can you go back up, please? What we do. And then we followed by the PLM introduction framework, where my presenter, Raj, will show you to learn and improve to manage product lifecycle management. Also following that is an overview of the Oracle Product Cloud, modules in Product Cloud, so forth. And we will present case studies from Oracle. There's a couple of relevant case studies that we're going to be showcasing to you. And the Product Cloud implementation for 3 different industries, followed by our implementation model. We're going to show you the implementation structure and timeline, so you understand how this can all happen to all of you. Next slide. Let me introduce NexInfo for some of you that doesn't know who we are. We've been in this industry since 1999. We have over 300 employees and 100 plus Oracle customers, different implementations. So we're a leading company, premier Oracle partner here. We cater to pretty much any size of a business. It's really about the business processes and the requirements as we tailor our solutions to meet each business goals. So we cater to small, mediums, and enterprise organizations. What we do as a unique indicator of ours is we align the business processes and software consulting services for any company to achieve an operational excellence. When you look in the left-hand side, it is pretty much all the domain, from ERP to SCM, PLM, EPM, and so forth. I am, like I said, based here in our Orange County headquarters, but we operate all across the United States, as well as we are present in Europe and our offshore center in India. Our software expertise is a blend of different ERP, but our main core is Oracle, but we also support others and other complementary software provider that makes us a one-source provider for some client that are looking to integrate with other solutions that would make their business process more efficient. Also, our accolades, we've been recognized by many different industries for many different years. The last next slide is I'm gonna brag about our recognition in the PLM space, since our workshop is PLM. Next slide. So this is one of the most latest and greatest recognitions by the CIO Review. We're one of the top most promising PLM solution providers in 2022. That's why we were encouraged to do this first workshop, and we probably will continue for another set of PLM, as it was really a good outcome so far. Next slide. Our services and methodology, we have 4 different cores for services. Business process design, where it all begins, right? We look at the current state. Current state doesn't work. We provide you with a future map by re-engineering, redesigning, or just business process improvement. It's a must need before any company should embark on any project or any changes. As a partner, we also of course, a software implementation partner and a system integrator. We provide application managed services as well as staff augmentation for some that would need a short-term contract just to help them in some areas. We can provide like a 3 month to 6 months to a year. Many different aspects in our resources that we can provide to you. NCAM methodology. NCAM stands for NexInfo Cloud Adoption Model. We pretty much mimic the Oracle methodology, cloud methodology. So we have an in-depth knowledge in the design and the implementation of business application, from implementation, customization, design development, and again, production support. That's the rapid approach there. And the next-gen methodology is when we dive deep into the transformation, where we evaluate, sit down with you, with different business users to evaluate your data, what's working, what's not. We evaluate the maturity level of the skills, so we know who can take on important tasks and who can be the best of it, and who can be the one to be the kind of the leader, to be the trainer for the other business users. So we can educate you with best practices and how to align your business processes with your existing software, followed by architect, validate, and operate. Next slide. Key capabilities of NexInfo. As you can see, we have from the project management for our different domain, ERP, supply chain, CX for customer experience, quality, PLM, EPM, SEM, HCM. Project management from business process design, functional, configuration and testing, extension design, integration, validation, operation support. Our project accelerators and enablers we have used for many successful engagement implementation that we've had. So we have all this available to you to make the integration migration seamless for any project, whether that's only enhancement and enablement or a full implementation. That is available to you. We will use it as needed. And again, many successful engagement reviews are enablers. Next slide. Just a quick glance of our NASCAR slide. As you see, it's all across industries, from a high-tech industry to biotech, pharma, food and beverages, which is my favorite industry, manufacturing, you name it. I just kind of want to show you really quick here that we can assist you regardless of your industry. I'm not going to spend too much time anymore because the meat of this workshop is really to sit you down and educate you with a lot of good information from our speaker, our presenter, which I will introduce to you and hand over this mic to Raj. And thank you again for listening to me. And if you have any question, please use the chat box as I will be monitoring that. Enjoy the workshop. Raj, all yours.
Thank you very much, Melody. And I'm coming through clear, right? A quick check.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. And very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to the audience. My name is Raj Piriyaswamy. I've been working with NexInfo for the past decade nearly, both directly and also through their projects when I was working with Oracle. I would like to go through my career briefly through the PLM projects, because that itself, I think, is fairly instructive. I started with subscription and notification project for Honeywell back in 2000. This was when Honeywell was planning a merger with GE, and they wanted to be aware of any changes to the design. At that time, the PLM systems were very much in their infancy. They were using Core E matrix. The centrals hadn't come up at that time. So we had to build in the logic, the type name revision concept, which still holds good in PLM. We started thinking about it back in 2000. And the project was pretty successful, but then, of course, European Union put a stopper on the merger. And anyway, that project, it was just left to Honeywell to use that. Then in 2003, I moved to GE itself they had taken over Enron's wind energy business. We were implementing Engineering Central and subsequently Product Central from Matrix 1 again. So this already, there was a progression in the PLM space. from core metrics to the centrals. And we were pretty successful. It was a very complex project. But then that was one of the first lessons that I had, that PLM is not just about managing the product or the process, but we had to manage the people, because we were running into quite a few fault lines. The engineering to manufacturing, the European and US, German and American company, et cetera, et cetera. So the project was successful, but the product didn't take off because of all these fault lines. But subsequently, I moved to the Agile space, and then Agile at this time in mid-2005 was just picking off in their late 8 and early 9 versions. The high-tech companies in Bay Area were picking up, and I was involved in a number of implementations for Agile PLM. I was privileged to, I moved even to Asia to set up for a semiconductor company. I implemented a version-based solution in PLM system, which is often complex if you think about it, because PLM systems by their very nature are revision-based. Whereas this customer, a semiconductor, very large semiconductor company, they indicated, look, we want to be able to maintain our versions distinctly so that at any time a customer might come to us far in the future and we should be able to tell what we had provided that customer. So we had to come up with a very innovative and complex solution for this customer in Asia and Europe. I was also privileged to be involved in implementing a PLM solution in Agile, ground up for Cisco. I have been involved with Apple. I have implemented a conflict mineral solution in PG&C module, and have been working with Gilead for the past decade. We started with their labeling solution in Agile, and then we spread it out to various other areas, including their product definition. And after that, we even extended that to supply chain. And increasingly by 2010, and I'll be talking a bit about the evolution of PLM shortly as well. It's becoming, earlier it was a question of what can PLM do, but now PLM, because the customers were getting more comfortable, and it became almost as important as ERP, if not more so, because the single source of truth for many customers often resides in PLM. So that was gratifying. Along with Agile PLM, the cloud solutions also started taking off around 2013-14. So I have been involved in about more than 10 plus projects. I was working for Oracle and then subsequently for NexInfo. I've had the privilege of implementing cloud solution for varied customers across pharma, high-tech, retail, etc. So that's my journey to date in PLM space. Okay, now coming to the workshop here. I think most of you would have one or more of these requirements that you are trying to achieve as a part of your PLM strategy, PLM journey. Fundamentally, you want to make sure that the single source of truth, which was the original driver for any PLM project, still substantially holds good. There are other things that have come along as well in terms of collaboration and the super bill of material or platform bill of material, a range of products, the response to change, quality and compliance, etc. And especially the supplier collaboration, which is becoming front and center and taking up a large part of any PLM solution. And with the cloud, of course, you want to make sure that your intellectual property is secure while your solution space keeps growing, so that you have the ability to absorb the product as it grows. Whereas on-prem solution, often you are stuck with the solution that you have implemented a few years back, and you find it very difficult to grow because the product you have on-prem is often what you are stuck with. Okay, and obviously from a capital perspective, cloud tends to be a revenue expense, whereas with an on-prem solution, you have to incur a large capex and maintain that all along the product life cycle. Finally, before I go to the next set of slides, we've seen that with the cloud, compared to a similar on-prem solution, we are able to, given the way the solution has been architected, it's faster to achieve much quicker implementation timelines, mainly because of the infrastructure, the way you can configure things, the base solution that's available, all that makes for a much quicker implementation, almost by a factor of 2 or 3. That is, if a project that we are implementing on-prem takes anywhere between 6 and 9 months, we are very confident. We have done this for customers around 90 days for many mid-sized customers. There are other customers, of course, where it's taken more time, but for many mid-sized customers, we have had them up and running and using the product within 90 days. So that's our collective pitch, that you are here and you hope to get one or more of these solutions in Oracle Cloud as we go through this session. So quick check. So far, so good, right? Melody, you are able to hear me clear?
Yes, Raj. Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
And for the audience, if you guys can hear, it's not coming out really well or clear, please put it on the chat box so we can address that immediately.
Right. Okay. So then, as I briefly alluded, PLM now well established wasn't always the case earlier, but before we deep dive into product cloud, etc., at least it makes sense to understand what's PLM. We are basically talking about people, process, and platforms coming together to manage your products. Okay, that's going to be our the core focus of this session. And a quick look at the evolution of PLM, which also I talked about when I went through my introduction. PLM obviously came from the CAD world, and even well into, although this slide says 1980s and 90s, but even into early 2000, it was still predominantly thought of as a CAD discipline. It's only when the configuration management practices started getting a wider audience, then people started understanding that PLM by itself is a distinct area. It needs to be taken out of the domain of CAD specialists and engineers, and it should be coming to the organization pool in general. So that started happening, in my experience, more in late 90s, early 2000, etc. And then by early to mid 2000, we started seeing the improvement in user interface. I spoke about Matrix 1, which came up with Centrals. Agile started coming with their web-based solutions. And users also, a typical non-audience, non-engineering audience rather, started getting into PLM, whether from purchasing, supply chain, marketing. These groups previously used to be almost completely in ERP, but they started understanding that the product definitions and processes start much upfront in PLM. And mid 2000 is when we started seeing more and more of these groups, and even it extended to marketing, legal, sales, etc. for some of these organizations. Then after that, by 2010, most of these products by then had started getting into full product lifecycle management. By that, I mean moving out of product PC modules into quality, compliance, and program management, and even cost management. Areas which previously used to be more in the ERP and supply chain space started coming into PLM to manage the product better. So Oracle, when they started developing the Fusion platform, the Cloud Fusion platform, early 2010, they were keeping an eye on all these developments, and they were focused on making this as broad-based as possible. And also, I'll go through this shortly, but having deeper connections to the product across multiple areas. So they are now talking about all these connected systems and Internet of Things. I will show you how all that comes together. Okay, so now let's get into the Oracle Product Cloud from the PLM evolution, which I see a logical thread. As I mentioned, CAD, then early PLM systems, then development of web and user interface to depth in PLM space, and then Oracle Product Cloud. Initially, in fact, some of the earliest development was in ideas, which was a interesting space to begin with, because most of the companies, ideas and requirements management often was done. It was a fairly undefined area for many companies. So it was interesting that Oracle started with that area, and they had given us demos back in 2011, 2012, and even it was intriguing when we saw the demo that they were trying to convert it into a rigor and discipline area which was fairly nebulous and was often managed within Excel, etc. And I would say it's come along fairly well, the ideas, requirements, and product concepts, etc. Then, of course, they took the core of Agile PLM and given the Oracle PIM, and that came into the Oracle Product Cloud and Product Data Hub. The quality module got a lot of depth, as did project management. They took the configuration tools that were available in the Oracle space and they made it much better. I'll talk about each of these areas shortly as I go through them. At the bottom of the screen, you can also see the vision that they have. From trying to capture the requirements, ideally the voice of the customer, getting them into the product and getting a single data model. And then when you're trying to operationalize them. So how the voice of the customer comes to the product and then gets implemented in the factory. This is the vision that Oracle has, and they continue to build on that. Okay, so let me just go step back. This is the idea and requirements innovation cloud management that Oracle developed, one of the earliest modules that they developed. And it tries to come up with the different ideas and requirements that can be captured in an organization and then converts them to proposal and portfolio analysis. I've seen this module and it can cater to very complex financial calculations in the portfolio analysis. And also it has very good scenario models. Basically, it looks at different concepts. It allows the customer to swap the concepts, requirements, and products even, because there's a close tie-in between the concepts and product management and product record. And they also, as is the case with all the cloud products, they have analytics and social collaboration built in. So the next slide, this shows you an interesting snapshot of how the concepts can be converted to items, because this is the transition you are making. You have ideas, you match that to requirements, create concepts to meet them. Then after that, when you're fairly certain that it's reached a certain level of maturity, then you can decide either you can move all the concepts or you can selectively decide to move them into products and then move it to the product space for managing that further. Next, I'll be talking about PD and PDH quite a bit in this demo, but this is a sort of overarching picture of the total product data management capabilities that Oracle Product Cloud has. Okay, so it covers everything from the standard item, BOM, and change and AML management on the right, which of course happens in the product development space. The product data hub from the erstwhile Oracle PIM product, that takes care of the item organization, and it provides for very innovative catalog and structure management, pack management, and also close collaboration with your supplier through product spoke systems. They also have a very good ability to get the data from both internal and external sources and managing the data quality through rules, data quality rules, etc. And managing the data loads for both internal and external customers. Okay, so product development management, of course, this is fairly standard. You manage your parts and documents, the BOMs and AML, and manage the changes on these to multiple processes. The PDH, I just spoke about it in terms of commercialization and ability to create and maintain packs, the ability to create catalogs and then associate them to items, getting the import of items both within the organization and from your external sources. And product data hub is where you manage the publication of item data to other systems, basically. So it covers the data sharing aspect as well. Okay, now moving from the PD and PDH and getting into the cloud quality management, Now, for those who have come from the Agile space, typically you would be looking at quality and you would imagine that it takes care of the audits and preventive and corrective action. It does all that. But the key thing is, in addition to that, quality management in the cloud stretches across even supply chain and other areas. And it also, the bottom screen here, it even integrates with the Internet of Things application that Oracle has, so that you can have continuous monitoring, get alerted to any problems, and that will enable you to perform a detailed risk analysis. So that's it's a lot more than your typical quality. It of course does that. You can do audits, you can do corrective actions, etc. That's a given. But in addition to that, as I get into that next slide, you can do a lot of analysis. You can do your bomb grading here. You can analyze for your different bombs, what sort of risk rating are you looking at. You can also be looking at your supply chain and trying to give risk-based assessment. You can look at your requirements and you can do requirement tracing and risk analysis. So this quality in the cloud is much more broad-based and much deeper than the typical Agile product quality that most of us were used to earlier. Moving from quality to project management. Again, a sort of a quick thought about what Agile program management does. You can define project tasks and then link them to item definitions or item and bomb definitions within the Agile product collaboration module. You can do the same in the cloud. You can define projects, you can define tasks, you can link that to the items and that you develop in the product development space. But here you can also, there is a very seamless integration with Microsoft Project, which of course any project management tool worth its name has to have. In addition to that, it also has strong integration with the financials, procurement, the human resource space, supply chain space, etc. So that you can manage, this gives you the capability to manage a project in its entirety. Because the Agile PPM, you are managing that within the product definition and it used to serve the purpose. But here you can have a much broader product definition, project definition, sorry. You can have a much broader project definition, bring in all the different, the human resources, the manufacturing and supply chain links that you have, tie that to project, and you can provide a single view of the projects to different users of this tool, etc. So much broader in concept. Okay. Then coming to configurator. So this configurator again, it takes, so in all these cases, as you see, it takes a base idea and then deepens them and improves them, and same is the case with the configurator. So you have the product definitions, the structured definitions within your product space that we just saw. Then that is your input. As you can see here, you have the structured definition. The configurator will allow you to do automated and intuitive configuration to build different possible configurations in this tool. But in addition to that, it goes further. It enables you to do real-time pricing. You can do a lot of switch and swap and see how it affects the pricing and other areas. And then it goes further. And you can integrate with ERP and CRM systems to provide quote and build contract documentation, e-signatures, etc. So it does this end-to-end. You build your configurations, you get your pricing, and you can interface with your ERP and CRM systems to complete the entire quote and contract process. So quick check, I sort of zoomed through the different Oracle product cloud modules. Does the audience have any question at this point in time before I go to the product cloud setup? I'll just take a brief pause. Melody, are there any questions?
No questions yet, Raj.
Okay, so I will continue. Right. So based on what we just had a look at the different product cloud modules. So this is the enterprise vision that Oracle has for the cloud for a product. So you have these different modules, which enables you to build your complete product configuration from your items, the attribution, the bonds, drawings, specs, etc. And then get all the cost details, etc. And this will constitute your digital product record. And that is available to all these different modules in the cloud, from manufacturing, supply chain, sourcing, etc., etc. And also you can constantly improve through these different other modules, corrective action, the new ideas that are coming through. And you have, as I briefly mentioned, the Internet of Data, constant data analytics available. Also, I haven't spoken about it, but Oracle has built very good dashboards for almost all these modules, whether it's product development or quality, etc., or program management. They come out of the box with excellent dashboard capability, so that often was a problem for the on-prem products, because you had to write a lot of custom code to build the dashboard. There was some dashboard available, but still, to go beyond that for reporting and dashboarding, you would have to do some custom development. With the cloud product development, you have very good dashboards pre-built, and the customers can extend on top of that. Okay, so this is the vision of how it all comes together. So going from that, I would now like to get to the brass tacks and talk about how do you set up the product cloud? What are the key features? Because we are talking about Oracle Product Cloud in this session. So what are the key things that go into setting that up? So any PLM system that you are implementing, it's a standard. You'll be setting up part and document classes that reflect your business. And you'll be identifying the attributes for each of these part classes or document class, as the case may be, what type of files that can be associated with them. And you'll try to develop some warm rules. This is more in the operational area, but typically most customers, they will be looking at managing their engineering bill of materials and super bill of materials within the PLM space, the product space, and then their ERP and supply chain is where they manage their manufacturing bills of materials. Of course, for lifecycle, that's what product lifecycle management is all about. How from the inception to growth and maturity, and then to retirement, what are the processes that will manage the product lifecycle? How you will define that through your different change processes, and AML, because that's increasingly where most if not all your products are designed in-house but procured externally. So that becomes a very central aspect of your product management. And overlaying all this is your security framework. What sort of access will you be providing for your internal and external users? So that would be a core PLM setup. And going a bit further, in addition to that, for any PLM project, to start using the system, you will have to look at how to do that data load from your existing system into this new PLM system that you are bringing up to speed. And you will, while most of the products, including Oracle Product Cloud, does have a lot of functionality, but you might almost always have some customization requirements. You will consider that along with integrations. And Oracle Product Cloud offers a lot of services to build integrations outside of the cloud itself, whether it's an on-prem ERP system or you have CAD systems that you want to consider integration between your product cloud and CAD systems, etc. We've done these integrations for many other customers. So that's typically factored in as well when you set up your PLM. And of course, we already looked at the quality compliance and program management. Those could also be factors when you're setting up your product cloud. What we have seen is typically customers set up the product cloud first The compliance tends to go along with the product definition for most part, but the quality and program management tends to follow along closely after they come up to speed on the product development. That's for some customers. For some others, they feel they can go the whole hog and try to implement this entire setup together. Okay. Now, coming to the, based on that framework that I just spoke about, to get started with PD, what are the things that you need to do? I'll walk you through that. So to start with, when you get into product cloud, you'll first have to set up your master organization. So this will be the master organization where the items defined from the PLM space will be defined to or tied to. And then you will also have to set up inventory organizations. This is typically something that you wouldn't do in your existing on-prem PLM, because that often assumes that everything is at that master level and it's done. But in case of, although there are some sites and there are a few customers who have implemented site, but in case of product cloud, right up front, in addition to your master organization, you will also have to define your other inventory organizations which will hold these items. This is used more in the product data hub. So the different inventory organizations, this is a snapshot of how you could define your inventory organizations. Obviously, you will set this up for each customer upfront. You start with a blank slate and define the master and other inventory organizations. Okay. Then next, we will be defining the units of measure, and the UOM class of the definitions go together, because that's where the conversion factors, etc., come into play. Oracle has taken this idea more from Oracle ERP, so that when you define an item and you define its UOM upfront, it immediately is locked in. So that's something that customers need to be aware of upfront. Of course, you can define other UOMs for other transactions, but still the core UOM or the basic UOM that you define upfront is set immediately after the item is defined. That's something that customers need to consider. So the UOM classes and the UOM units and the conversion between them are other key definitions upfront. Then, of course, the life cycle that your items will go through. The out-of-the-box product definition cloud comes with 4 standard life cycle: design, the prototype or production, pre-production, production, and obsolete. From each of these, you can extend that to multiple sub-life cycles, if you will. So we have seen customers go for 6, 7 life cycle. It depends on the nature of your business. As long as you have clear-cut processes and change process on how you manage this life cycle, it's up to you to define as many life cycles as the customer needs, actually. Okay. Then, of course, we come to the core item class definition. The standard product comes with the root item class. That's all there is. And then we can go for different levels. So in Agile, typically you have the base class, class, and subclass. So that's the structure that Agile provides. In the cloud, you can go further. You can go to n number of levels, but we do, of course, recommend to customers not to overdo that. The 3 level is fairly standard, but I've seen customers go to 4th level if they so desire as well, 4 or 5 levels if they so desire, and they will decide at what levels do they allow item creation. And along with the item creation, all the other things related to the item in terms of its numbering, the security, the attributes that go to that, what life cycles can be associated with this, each of this part definition, part or document definition. And the templates and formats are more in the product data hub, but even those will be associated as a part of this definition. And also, if you need document management, that's something that you need to define right at the beginning and indicate that upfront. So this is a sort of a decision you need to take, and I would recommend for most part, since almost all the companies will need document management, you should enable that upfront. Okay, then this is the numbering that I spoke about. You can have different types. You can go for sequence generated, which is what most of the companies go with, but you can also have rule generated based on different attributes or You can define more complex rules, etc. Or you can leave it to the user to enter the attributes on the left. On the right, you see the security, and the security aspect of the Oracle Product Cloud has been consistently improving. They tend to be more broader earlier, but now they're getting far more granular. So this is an area where the Oracle Product Cloud has improved a lot in terms of providing for very granular security. Okay. Then the class definition. So of course, I've given you only the attribute groups, but what you do is you define individual attributes, whether it's a text attribute, a list attribute, etc., and then you put them into attribute groups. So you start with attribute definition, put them into attribute groups, and then it's these attribute groups that you will associate with this each of the part class. So the left you are seeing here, the attribute groups, which within them will contain the individual attribute definitions. And you have the ability to define a varied set of attributes applicable to each part class, basically. Then on the right here are the lifecycle phases that I spoke about. You can decide what sort of lifecycle phases will be associated for each item. Okay. Next, coming to the template. This is again more a Oracle ERP construct for those of us more in the PLM space, but since the Oracle Product Cloud brings in both the product definition and commercialization together, so this also comes up front. This will be more familiar to people involved in the ERP space. What sort of templates will be can be associated with these with each of your items? What default attributes? And Oracle, it provides for a very impressive range of seeded attributes for commercialization upfront, out of the box, whether it's lot management or compliance, weight-related attributes, etc., etc. I've been very impressed with the series of attributes that come out of the box, which that's one of the advantages the customers have upfront, that you don't really have to get into a lot of attribute definition of the commercialization space. You can leverage what's available out of the box, basically. Okay. Then finally, we saw the different aspects of setting up the item. We looked at the attributes, the security, the numbering, life cycle, etc. Then to manage all of them through the changes, etc., you have the seeded change definitions. So out of the box, you have 6 changes that are available. The most prominent, of course, being the engineering change order, where you can do the complete set of changes, whether it's attribute, life cycle change, BOM change, and document change, file change, that is. All that is covered under the engineering change order, most powerful, which always will involve the change and revision. Then you have change request, and deviation change request is something that's come in versions later than 18 or 19 from what I recollect. It was not there earlier, but this was a popular request from customers, and Oracle introduced that. Corrective action will be used in the quality module. And the change order without revision control, this is for those of you from the Agile space, the MCO. So you can make changes to life cycle, changes to AML, and without a revision change, basically. The commercialization change order is more in the product data hub space, basically. Now, in addition to this change definitions that are available here, you can create copies of them. So for example, I can have say, around 5 or even more number of engineering change orders, give them my own unique name, have as many status as possible. As you see here on the right, I can have multiple statuses, and I can have very nuanced controls. Oracle, again, has been making a lot of improvements in this space in terms of workflow definitions, etc. So this in sort of summation is what goes into setting up the Oracle Product Cloud for an organization. And that also, Melody, and for the audience here, I think this is a good point to take a brief break for about maybe around 5 minutes before I start getting into the case studies. That's what I would recommend. What do you think, Melody?
Yes.
And
Let's take a 5-minute break. And
we'll take a break, and then I will take questions after the break also.
Yes.
Sorry, I forgot to mention.
Yes, so we will reconvene in 5 minutes.
We will do that. Thank you.
All right, everybody. I hope everyone got a chance to grab water, coffee, snacks, lunch. Our 5 minutes is up, and there is a question here on that came in. Raj, Raj, can you hear me? Raj?
Sorry,
you are on mute.
Yeah,
Okay.
my bad.
So there's a question that came in while we were on break. What is the main difference between PD and PDH? Is there any settings required to release items to PDH, those created in PD?
Very good. In fact, thank you for that question. And let me give you some background to this. Okay. Now, at a high level, some customers decide, especially those who have come from the agile PLM space and they want to stick to PLM, they operate within the Oracle product cloud and they don't get much into PDH at all, except they use PDH mainly for data loading or publishing data, etc. So the Oracle product cloud side of it maps to very closely to what agile PLM does. So they are satisfied with that, they stay within that. Okay, that is one way. There are other customers, and I will talk about this use case that I have for retail a bit later in this presentation, where they're like, look, I don't want to get into all this elaborate item lifecycle, change management, revision, blah, blah, blah. That's for companies which are engineering or product focused. I'm in a space where I need to get my items, I need to collaborate with my suppliers quickly, need to get data in, data out. Okay, for those customers, they operate purely in the PDH space. That is, we still have the same item definitions, but they will use the PDH to create the items. They don't go through the change process, etc., etc. They can put up in catalogs. They can get the suppliers to for the spoke systems, etc. Use that templates to fill out the data. Use the packs for managing their different GTIN definitions, etc., etc. So this is the PDH only use case. Okay, so pure PD use case that I mentioned for product or engineering focused companies, pure PDH focus for companies which are mainly interested in not elaborate product definitions, but want to use it to get items in and out quickly, as I mentioned. Okay, these are sort of two ends of the spectrum, if you will. Now there is another sort of customer, sort of in the in-between, which is where I think this question is coming from. So for them, we can set it up so that, let me go to the life cycle here. And correct, this I didn't quite talk about it, and thank you for this question. So we can set it up so that the draft design stays within PLM, but for the pre-production and production, the first revision, it will of course start in the PD side, Oracle product development side, but then when you get it into PDH, you have a new item request process wherein you will enrich the data further. Okay, so you have the data set up, you have the item released in PD, and then you can go over to PDH. You have the new item request for the first revision alone. There you can enrich the data further. And so some customers use this process as a sort of bridge from PD to PDH. And also these customers, they have the engineering BOM and super BOM definition in the Oracle product development cloud. But for the manufacturing or site-specific BOMs, they use PDH to manage that site-specific BOMs. So that's how they sort of have a best of both the worlds. Their product definition changes, etc., are in PD. Their site-specific content, attributes, any enrichment of attributes through NIR, etc., they manage that through PDH. And of course, as I said, you have extremes. You can use PD alone for product-specific companies. You can use PDH alone for companies which just need item definitions and then go into transactions from there. Okay. I hope that addressed the question. Any follow-on to that? Does that answer the question?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Right. So now let me, just a quick check of where we are. From PLM evolution, I went through the overview of the different modules within the Oracle product cloud and spoke a bit about each of them. Then I went into the setup for product development and product data hub. Basically, we looked at the how you set up the organization, the inventory organizations, item class definitions. I spoke about ensuring that you set up document management upfront, because coming back later is challenging. So we have had one customer who initially said no, and then we went about 2 weeks into setup, and then they said, you know what, we want it, and then we had to sort of wipe out all our work and start from scratch again. So not ideal. So that's where I would always recommend always set up document management by default, because even if you're not using that upfront, that capability exists to do that later. In general, that's a very good feature in the cloud that you can always extend your setup and definition continuously. Meaning, I've seen customers who start with a small set of item classes, and then as they get better at both understanding the product and their process, they go and develop further class definitions, change definitions, etc. It's just that you need to understand both your product and the process, the product from the cloud and the process better to take advantage of both. Okay. So with that sort of summation, let me get into two important case studies. These are completely from Oracle, and these were extremely deep case studies from Oracle. When I say deep, they cover a lot of areas. Obviously, this session is not meant to go that deep. I don't have the time. Each of them had about 130 or 140 slides. So I've tried to capture the very succinct version of each of them and give you an idea of both the depth and the breadth of the Oracle product cloud space, the Oracle cloud space itself, in fact, how the product definition emanates and touches different areas. So I want to start with the unified BOM and then also talk about the second use case covering spec and spec management and supplier engagement. Okay, without further ado, let me get into unified BOM. So as far as I briefly mentioned at the beginning that it's BOM definition that's going to be almost a central focus of most of the customers getting into product definition, because we have seen that ERP is good for specific BOM management, but it's PLM. In fact, PLM really started coming to the fore with its BOM definition and capability management much better than what ERPs could do. Of course, there may be ERP adherents who might disagree, but still, let's take this as a sort of a standard truth that for your engineering bill of material and your what we call a unified or a platform or a super bill of material, PLM is the best. That's where the single source of truth often comes in, not just at the attribute level, but at the BOM level, because everything that you can manage in a product should go into your PLM as a super BOM. And that's what the best managed companies always do. Whether you consider an Apple, a Cisco, a Dell that I have seen in my experience, they all do this very well. They manage their BOMs very well. And that's often, that along with the process definitions and the discipline that they bring to the fore is the reason why they have been very successful. Okay, it's not just the definition, but how will you manage that through the life cycle? These are the key attributes that these successful companies have. And those are some features worth emulating for others. Okay. Now, coming back to this unified bill of material, Oracle in this use case tried to show how you can have multiple BOMs. You have the engineering BOM, the super BOM, the site-specific BOM, etc. But how do you ripple the changes across them, right? That's often something that that's very hard to do. Or companies do that. Obviously, they have to do that for managing their business daily. But it often involves a lot of handover from one system to another. That's what we have been doing with Agile PLM. We do the engineering bill of material and typically the super bill of material in Agile. We make the product changes, and then after that, once it's released, because PLM are release date-based systems, once we release it, we have an integration. We push it across to ERP. ERP then do their date effectiveness, because they have to look at the supply chain impact of this change. They will come up with the effectivity. Then they often get it into manufacturing execution systems for the work order and things like that. So that's how it comes a full cycle. Okay. So PLM to ERP to MES to downstream supply chain, etc. That's your typical scenario, right? And that's the top approach that I have here, where you keep transferring the structure from one system to another. But in the cloud, the example that I'm going to go through, the use case that I'm going to go through that Oracle has presented, it shows you how you make the change in one area, specifically in product development, and how it seamlessly ripples across all these other areas, across manufacturing, across supply chain, etc., and how it gets executed. So that this really brings to the fore the reason why it makes a very strong case for end-to-end approach in the cloud. That's really what this use case is striving to show. Okay, so let me then go further into this use case with this background. Okay, now Oracle makes a strong case that Oracle alone has this unified bill of materials solution that can manage the transition from concept to disposal. Of course, concept to disposal is there, but in this scenario, we are talking about how that change ripples from the engineering bill of material all the way to the workflow definition. Okay, work order management, basically. So let me then go further. So this is the data set that we are looking at. So here, this kicks off when the purchase order, they receive this item ECM ending in 5 zeros and 1 6. They are finding that it's not matching up to the specification often, and it triggers a quality issue. So this is again quality at your inspection lot. So it's not quality at that product customer complaint or something like that. This is more of the PO receiving end. And then they contact the supplier. And then the supplier looks at this and they say that, yes, this is a problem on and off. So they recommend that this is a problem. Instead of using, this component, 50016, why don't you have a better component and consider that? Okay, so they are saying that use up what you have. This from the supplier. When they are doing the corrective action, the supplier indicates use up what you have, and then cut in this new component. So these two are reporting to the Supremo 5400 product in this example. Okay, let me now sort of show you the entire flow, and I will walk you through some key screenshots. As I said, the Oracle example that they have presented is runs into hundreds of screenshots. I don't have the time to go all that, but at least this provides a good summary of how the process flows, and then I will show you the key screenshots for them. Okay, so first, in fact, the second issue is where it comes up. The quality issue is where the supplier is involved. They suggest the corrective action, which is to replace the existing component with the new component after you use up the existing component completely. So based on that, the product manager then comes in, because now you have to act on that. The issue has been identified, the corrective action suggested. They open a change order on the product development, and they suggest that the BOM, in that engineering BOM, replace the old component ending in 60 with the new component ending in 31, ECM 5 ending in 31 for that product. And they also will link the quality action that triggered this engineering change order. Okay, so then the supplier reviews this, and the supplier indicates that use up that 16 and cut in 31, basically. So now, okay, so this is the initial part of the action. So the issue is identified, the initial action taken. Remember, the change order is still in process. This change order now to act upon that, it goes to the production manager or the two sites. So they look at this and they understand that, okay, the action on us is to use up 16 and then it will be replaced by 31. So after they sign off, then they approve that. They, meaning the production managers, approve that. Now coming back to the there is a key concept here that's important to understand. In Agile PLM, when you release a change order, that's when the item becomes effective immediately. But in the Oracle Product Cloud, because it's closely tied with your supply chain, you have the concept of when is the effective date. So that makes an appearance in the PLM side. Often you can set it up so that the effective date is immediate, so that mimics your Agile PLM. But in this scenario, you don't want to do that immediately because you don't want 31 to cut in immediately. Instead, the production manager will go and do an analysis and find out by what date they should use up 16, and that is the date they use to use the date for cutting for this ECO line. I'll show this in the screenshot. Okay. So then after that, they indicate that as a cut-in date for the ECO. And once that date comes up, then the ECO then becomes effective. So that first hits the change hits the replacement of one component with the other. It's your engineering bill of material. Then it transmits to the super bill of material, and more important, to the site level bombs. And then from the site level bomb, they will run the collections for the work definition. So there are a lot of processes that are running in the background. So once that definitions are run, now you have the work orders that indicate that you can cut in this new component. So before I get into the screen definitions, you can see that now just staying in your product space, you can see how all this change happens end to end. Because in Agile PLM, typically the engineer just replaces one item with the other based on any quality action. They release the change order and they are done. After that, anything that happens is downstream to them and they're not aware. Whereas here, you can see the benefit of how the different modules in the Oracle Product Cloud work together, and especially the cutting date, etc. It of course imposes some more additional work on the product manager in terms of when they have to cut in, etc. But I think there is a benefit in all the different groups in the organization coming together and seamlessly executing this. So with that said, let me get into this screenshot. So here, first the product manager is logging into the product cloud, and then they go to my work. This is a change order. They have the engineering change order for the Supremo product that I mentioned. And here, I know the screenshot's not perfect. Please bear with me. I'll talk through them. They're replacing that. They have struck out the 16 component, and they are replacing that with the 31 component. Okay, so this is what they are acting on. And why did they come to this? Because they have connected that corrective action for the supplier, wherein the quality issues that were found, they had raised with supplier corrective action for that item ending in 16. And then the supplier has suggested that use up that current component and phase in the new component. So it was based on that actually. So this is the sort of start of this entire process. And then the engineer, the product manager comes in and raises the ECO based on that and links that to the corrective action. Now, once that is done, the next step is, okay, we accepted the supplier recommendation. What's the use of date? To get this information, they log into the supply chain planning area, go to demand and supply planning. For this existing component ending in 16, they look at the date and it comes up as 16. So this is the use of date. Okay, so then now they have this information. The product manager again comes back, and this is what I was mentioning. So the effective date, there is effective date in Agile PLM also, but for most customers, that's just used as a sort of indicator, because in Agile PLM, it doesn't do anything. Agile PLM is a release date based system. Whereas on the Oracle Product Cloud, if you set this value to effective date, then that's the date on which this change becomes effective. The change where you are replacing 16 with 31. The item numbers ending in 60s with the item number ending in 31. Okay. Then after that, you get the required approvals on the change order. And then once that effective date comes in, it gets released, the change order gets released. And then the moment it gets released, it cuts in that, it removes the old component, adds the new component, and then it ripples across the different BOMs where this item is used. Okay. So then now you again want to confirm that you go back to the supply chain planning and you confirm that yes, the effective end date is indeed this date. And after that, now you have to see the effect of the new change in the BOM, how it goes to the shop floor. So here you are going to the supply chain execution, and as a production manager, you search for the Supremo product, and then you see that it's showing that there is this new component available for 31, ending in 31. And then this is the work order that you have the shop floor process to introduce that new component. So this gives you there are a lot of screens in the background. As I said, I tried to give you a very succinct version of this entire process, but you can imagine how this will all come together. You have corrective action, then you have change order, you get the right dates, you make sure that the implementation, the effective date rather, is set to the right date, you confirm that in your supply chain planning. Then you come to the supply chain execution, and here you can see that the new component is now getting implemented. Okay, I'll pause here, and I hope the audience has understood how this is a powerful case for all these different components, from a corrective quality action to the collaboration with the supplier, internal collaboration between product and production teams, how it all comes together. This of course would happen currently in your organization, but across multiple systems. Whereas in the cloud, if you have these different modules, it would be seamlessly done across them. Let me pause and see, Melody, are there any questions related to this use case?
No questions came in yet.
Okay, fine. Let me then go to the next use case. So if the first use case was about the flow of this information across all these different modules, this second one is specific within the product development area. It talks about how you can manage your specifications within product development, and also another key aspect of this is the supplier engagement, because previously in the Oracle product modules before 20, I assume, I don't remember the exact number, but at that time, any supplier engagement used to happen mainly through the product data hub and supply chain portal, supplier portal rather. The supplier portal and product data hub, wherein you could request the information for items from the supplier, and they would be able to come in and either upload their Excel spreadsheet or be able to enter the data in the system for individual items. But that sort of close collaboration was not possible within the product development, and this was a common request from the customers that we would like to engage with our suppliers for them to manage the product part or item definitions and attributes, etc., within product development. This was a ask from many customers, and this is what I'm going to show in this use case. Okay, so this is a fast food global chain for this use case, and as you can see here, the product development has been renamed as specification management. These are some of the things. Again, the customer, based on what they're implementing, they can set it up to what definition they want. Okay, so the product development becomes specification management here in this box. Here, that's what I'm talking about. And then, as I said, this is a fast food chain. And you can look at the product specs. Sorry, let me go back. This is the product spec, the different attribute groups that I mentioned. The spec level definition, both at the attribute level here that you see. And one other aspect here that I like about Product Cloud is it allows for definition of tables. This is something that that's missing in Agile PLM. Agile PLM is pretty nice. I've used it for decades, but defining a table is not something that's very easy within Agile PLM, whereas within the cloud, you can define tables very easily. And this is one such example for the specification attribute group that you're seeing here. Okay, so you define the product specs here. And also, under your bill of material, you can see that it gets the items, specs, manuals, etc. And these are from different suppliers. As I mentioned at the start of this use case, the ability to collaborate with your suppliers within the product development space was a key ask. And this use case is showing that. So you have the top level PATI. This is a global definition for this company. But then they would obviously have country specific or even much more specific site level definitions. In this, it's country specific. And they will be working with different suppliers in managing not just the BOMs, but the products, the attributes, the manuals, the files, etc. that all go into making this product. Okay, so this is the super bill of material for the burger. It has its own complexity, as you can see here. It's not necessary that only a high-tech product has to have complexity. In fact, often we have worked with customers, and since it tends to be very rapidly changing, at times this tends to be even more complex than your high-tech product, which tends to be having more lead times. Okay. Anyway, you have this definition here. And then one such item that party for, I think it's, which is managed by one of the supplier. So I'm getting into that. And you can see that this is managed by Clovelly Foods. There is this supplier who manages that. Then next, now we go through the supplier view. So this is the supplier login. And you can configure the system, product development, so that the supplier sees data that's assigned to them. This is a very important development that Oracle Product Cloud has managed. So the supplier logs in, they see the part that's assigned to them. And here on the left, you can see that they can only see a smaller set of data compared to the internal customer, obviously. And they can open this, they can act on the specific items assigned to them. They can manage the attributes, because these are items that have been earmarked by the customer, by the company that is, for the specific supplier. And the other suppliers cannot see that. That's the advantage. So you can have multiple suppliers collaborating, but working on their own items and not being aware of other suppliers in the same overall top level product. So they then log in, they come to the BOM, they can make the changes here. Of course, there'll be discussions between them and the company, because typically you are not seeing that here. This again has hundreds of screens, but there might potentially be a change request which indicates that we would like you to make updates to your spec, maybe to some manual, documentation, attribute, etc., etc. So the supplier logs in based on that. They look at the items specifically assigned to them. They make the change that's suggested by the organization, assign it to a change order, and then get it reviewed and then release it. So this, as I said, it seems to be a more straightforward use case, but this was something that previously didn't exist. But now, with the constant updates that Oracle Product Cloud is making, it's something that they are able to manage. They can, as you're seeing, you are able to manage collaboration with multiple suppliers in the product cloud, product development cloud. So quick pause for any questions before I get into NexInfo's implementation case studies.
No question.
No question. No questions. Okay. Let me just take a quick. All right. Thank you. Now I'm going to go from the use cases to the experience that NexInfo has had implementing the product cloud for different customers now. So I will start with pharma. So this pharma customer that we worked with, they had a lot of manual paper-based processes. I mean, they even used to joke that literally the part numbers are created on the back of the envelope and then passed to their, because this is a pharma company, you had the chemists and the biopharmacists or the specialists in the product, if you will. They are not very supply chain system savvy. they want a part number for their study. They used to joke that, yes, we have this in the napkin and give it to the product specialist who then, they had a ERP system. They would go and enter that there. But then after that, they just got the part number and then they would manage it completely manually. But obviously, this process created huge risks because it's a pharma company. It created huge risks in terms of managing the regulatory requirements, because this is a company that was spread across multiple geographies and markets. Constant change in there are constant product requirement changes here in the pharma industry, and also they were planning to expand their product base, go to different unserved markets and products. So this was all proving to be very challenging. There's on-the-fly part creation, not being able to link to specifications, not understanding their supply chain, etc., etc. And even each of the sites used to do things the way they deemed fit, and the approval process used to vary. This is a fairly, of course, we are talking about pharma here, but this I think is something that most companies can relate to. Maybe not creating parts on the back of a napkin, but still, at the end of the day, most of these other problems that we have listed here, I think, are fairly common for many customers before they start on their PLM journey. So then they came to NexInfo and they requested us, what can we do? So we evaluated their issues. We suggested the product development cloud. We initially looked at Agile PLM as well, but because it was coming to the sort of end of its road, we suggested, why don't you go to the product cloud, because that's more at the beginning. They then said that since it's new, we would like to do a proof of concept, and then we did a proof of concept for them for key businesses, and we looked at, we showed them this is how you define parts, this is how you would engage with your suppliers. They manage the specification in another system, but the specifications start here, and the specification change and management happens in another system. For this company, the program management was very critical because they wanted to know, okay, this item, especially at the higher levels of the item, what program it ties into. And we showed them that as well through the program management capability in the product cloud. So after we did this proof of concept, we had a very successful proof of concept. They liked that. They decided to go ahead with the product cloud, product development cloud. And then we set this up for them. We set up a item supplier program framework that you are seeing here. And also this is something that we learned as well, that typically we manage the life cycle for high-tech companies, wherein a prototype item gets into production and that's it. It's now production till it goes to end of life. But in pharma, we realized that clinical items and commercial items tend to stay in their own space. It's not like, although clinical does go to commercial, but they still tend to retain their characteristic, if you will. Okay, so we set up sort of definition under the commercial item space, and then we set up definition under the clinical space as well, and we enabled the BOM processes for each of them. And the raw material, of course, was one common definition, which can go into both the clinical space and commercial space. We set up the workflows for each of this because the processes involved in clinical are quite different from that for commercial. Then we set up extensive supplier groups so that they could collaborate with them. And we mapped that to different programs. Obviously, they have trademark programs. We are not showing that here, but we enabled them to have their program definition here, and in the AML, bring all this together. And we set up change processes also to bring all these concepts, the items, the specs, the attributes, the suppliers, the programs together for their BOM definitions, including the super BOM. And then we had integrations with other systems also that we managed. Okay, so this is again, it's a diagram which, a slide which rather talks about how they built from the raw material type. We had the AML program linkage, and these were all new to the company because this company didn't have this sort of process in place. So we enabled it for them. And also because of the raw material level, they were making mass changes. We enabled mass BOM updates for them. So that, okay, they say that this raw material now shows up in these multiple top level, mid-level and top level parts, they could decide at what level they wanted to make that change. Okay. Then from the raw material level, you go to the intermediate level where now the definitions start getting into country-specific BOMs, and we bring in the spec linkage here as well. They especially like that red line capability. I didn't speak much about it earlier, but this was one of the key features that we showed them and they liked. So that within each change order, especially the quality folks, because their ERP systems, etc., this was a major growth for them that they had no clue what was changing. They had to sort of read through multiple things and understand what changed. Whereas on the product cloud, each of the change, the revision is changing, the attribute is changing, the structure is changing, AML is changing, etc. All that is very clearly visible to the reviewer. So this was much appreciated by the end users, actually. And they also like that they're used both at that immediate level and top level. So this was all coming together very well for them. That's where I said, and I briefly alluded to the fact that for your BOM management, PLM scores much better than ERP in this sort of nitty-gritty areas. Change management, they're used, the linkages that PLM is able to bring about, and more so the product cloud. Okay. So then we built that super BOM for them. And we used this to build we had the out-of-box reports as well, but since this is a pharma company, they wanted to build some custom reporting for the auditors, etc. We built custom supply chain and other reports, thanks to these sort of BOM definitions that are maintained within the product cloud. So in conclusion, thanks to all the things, and we had multiple rollouts for this customer. We ensured that they were 21 CFR Part 11 compliant, a single source of truth. We started there, that was a big challenge for this customer, and when we ended, we ensured that they now have their product system, the product cloud system, which will be their system of record for all the changes for both clinical and commercial items, basically. And it provides all the BOM information, approvals, history, etc., etc. And also, they are able to continuously take advantage. This customer also, they are on a sort of 6-month standby because, and that's a feature that Oracle allows their customers because they are pharma. They often look at any new feature. They assess that in a separate in-house environment. They assess that and then they decide that to move those features into the company after that assessment. So that's something that works for pharma companies especially because they don't want to be on the cutting edge of each of this change, basically. Okay, so this was our pharma case study example. Next, from pharma, we go to a different, sorry, is there any question?
There is one question that came in.
Okay.
I don't know if the answer would be long or short, but the question is, before we get fully into the cloud for other ERP modules and looking at PD cloud alone, how do I get items, costs, etc., into PD cloud to do estimates and proposals?
Okay. Estimates and proposals specifically. The way I would recommend that is for this customer, if you have PD cloud, let me. So this question says I just have the product cloud. In fact, when I say product development, I'm talking about the items, BOMs, AML. Okay, that's one part. The product cloud is where at the beginning I moved from ideas and concepts and requirements to PD and PDH. Then I also went to quality and configurator. So that's the product cloud. Now, if you have the product cloud, I'm not the commercial guy, but the way Oracle sells licenses, they would sell it for the Oracle product cloud, all these modules that I mentioned come along with that. So we would, the way you would set it up is you would set up ideas a bit. Maybe you don't want to go too much, but you would look at the costs and even you can define costs at the item level as well, okay? Then the configurator is where you can define the rules because the configuration ability is to pick those different configurations that can go in. You have the structure in PD. The configurator, you can pick that up and you can do the different analysis, switch different items, and that the costing will come up. And based on that, so you have now come to the costing aspect of it, which was another key part of the question. You are now still within the product cloud. Next, if you want to then pass this information, you can even build quotations and even contract within the configurator and integrate with your ERP and CRM systems. So for that, that's when you will be stepping out of the product cloud into that. Okay, so you don't, for example, you can decide that you are not going to have ERP, but as long as you have structure information, cost information related to the structure and configurator, you can do the quotation process within the product cloud and transfer that to your ERP and CRM systems. Okay, I hope that addressed the question. So you would of course have to have more than just product development. You will need to have the configurator also associated with this, but that's part of how Oracle typically sells their license. You can of course check with the sales rep for that, but that much information I am confident, because that they sell this product cloud as an entire suite. So configurator is one of the things that comes along with that. Okay, any other question?
No.
No? Okay, thank you. Right. So from the pharma industry, now I'm stepping into the high tech. So this company, in the pharma, we were getting into a situation where they had ERP but no PLM systems. This company had they had different they had CAD systems and not PLM system per se, but they had different product systems. They had some custom system, etc. So they wanted to consolidate that, and they had a lot of customizations in different sites. So they were increasingly finding it hard to maintain that. That again typically is a scenario that I've seen even for almost all the customers who have been using their PLM product for say more than a decade. Increasingly, the customizations, people who have developed them tend to move on. Their user base changes, etc., and they don't know why does the system do what it does. So this company had that problem. So they were looking at different PLM products, and then they settled on the Oracle Product Cloud because they liked the idea that they could reduce the customization, try to stick to as much as out of the box as possible, and they also wanted to go. They like the concept of growing with the Oracle Product Cloud. Okay, so we went into this company, and then the good part here was most of these definitions were already in place. This is a high-tech company, so all these definitions were in place, etc. So the class definitions were pretty straightforward, but their process definitions, on the other hand, they were split across multiple locations. So we ensured that we got down to the brass tacks and we detailed process sessions with them. It took a lot of time, but it was time well spent for their commodity process, non-commodity process, etc. How the life cycle changes happens. Because as I said, the class and the attribute definitions were already there. That was where we thought, okay, this seemed to be much easier, but then the process definition, it took a lot of time with this customer. And also for this customer, they, as is typical for many high-tech companies increasingly, they define commodity classes for their commodity codes, so that establishes the base for how, when you're defining a commodity part, there is a business rule which associates a specific commodity code class with that. And then, for example, if you have an optics definition, specific, there are multiple commodity codes for that optics. The user will be guided to select that. And then this sets the ground rule for do you have single or multiple sourcing rules, etc., etc. There are multiple rules, but I just took a few of them as a flavor here. And then they had very detailed assessment between the internal and the manufacturer part. How does that life cycle map between the internal part and the AML? Okay, which which I think is typical of many high-tech companies, because you procure almost all your parts at the lower levels. So you want to have clear definitions. And usually for prototype, you do a lot of manufacturer part analysis, and only when you're satisfied, when the MPN is, when manufacturer part is qualified, then you decide to go to production, right? So these sort of detailed rules for the customer. And also, since they had existing SolidWorks set up in the organization for CAD definitions, we again did quite a bit of analysis. Initially, they were thinking of creating the parts in SolidWorks, creating the design in SolidWorks, and then moving the entire definition into the product lifecycle. And in fact, this diagram seems to show that, but actually we eventually did a lot of back and forth, and we decided that we will get the drawings, and the models will be created in SolidWorks. The part will be defined independently in Product Cloud, but then in the SolidWorks, they will link it with the number, and we will get the PDF file, because we did assessment, and we realized that having a much tighter linkage between SolidWorks and Product Cloud was going to be more cumbersome for the customer in terms of the process, because they were going through a lot of changes in the SolidWorks, and they realized that, yes, there's a lot of frequent back and forth flow tends to be more complicated. So they decided, yes, we will keep them separate, but once the file reaches, the PDF file in the SolidWorks reaches a certain level of process maturity, then we will move it to product lifecycle, Oracle Product Lifecycle Cloud. And that worked very well. Okay, so that was for this customer. We implemented that, and it's been working well for them. Now, moving from high-tech to retail. And this I briefly mentioned when I was talking about product data hub. This customer was very clear. They said, initial demos, we gave them a lot of product development, but they said, look, we don't want change orders, and we are not crazy about all those change workflows, etc., etc. We go through many frequent product changes, and we also get most of our data comes from supplier. We want to have rules-based data from the supplier, and also we want to maintain a catalog, because we have all these complex catalog definitions to maintain, and then feed it to a downstream NetSuite application for supply chain execution. So this was a customer, retail space. They wanted to, they typical of that space, they wanted to be able to create products quickly and react with the suppliers on a constant change basis, get the data in, set up the rules to have the catalog established, and then drive this item and supplier data into AML. So this was a very quick, after we did that assessment, and the customer said, set me up quickly and bring me up to speed. We just had 3 part classes. We established the catalog rules to feed downstream. We also established data templates and the supplier spoke system, where the supplier will feed in the data for that constant item updates. And we were able to get them up and running quickly. We did that one integration from moving the data from the product cloud to Oracle NetSuite, basically. Okay, so this customer, we had them up and running very quickly, less than 3 months, basically. Okay, any questions about these 3 case studies? Pharma, high-tech, and retail. And pharma and high-tech were obviously very PD focused, product cloud focused, product development cloud focused, sorry. Whereas in this case, retail, they were almost completely PDH. They didn't really use any PD feature at all, basically. Okay. If there are no questions.
Raj, that came in.
Go ahead.
Is this use case where the item definition or a BOM structure was managed in SolidWorks CAD? Did you import the item and BOM directly from CAD into PD automatically, or did you just import a PDF?
We imported PDF. In fact, thanks, that's a good question. Initially, that's the path we set down initially. We were looking at, the customer said that I want to, because they were still using they were more accustomed to SolidWorks. They said, we will do everything in SolidWorks, and we want to move the parts and the bombs from SolidWorks into Oracle Product Cloud. And we started with that, but the changes were very rapid for this customer. And then we did workshops, and after that, the customer, because again, for the customer, they were waking up to the capabilities of the product cloud itself. They realized that product cloud often, it has its own processes. It has a different group of people, almost, if you will, to manage the product definitions, etc. So it was our initial recommendation, but they were not that receptive initially. But subsequently, after seeing this lot of change in data and difficulty in managing, they decided that yes, we will go with what you're recommending. We will create the models and drawings in our SolidWorks. And once there it reaches a certain maturity, we will convert that entire structure. We had the part numbers already in Product Cloud. They would link that part number to the SolidWorks definitions. And that would be how we developed the custom integration to pick that PDF file and move it to the file tab of that particular part. So if SolidWorks gave us a PDF with that bomb, it was a bomb. If it was a part, it was a part. So we were neutral to that. That data was coming in from SolidWorks.
Thanks,
Okay.
Raj. Just a quick time check here. We have 15 more minutes left.
Right. In fact, I think I should be, I'm now coming to the last phase, which is about what's our typical implementation model and the timelines that we are looking at. I should be done in the next 5 minutes and then hand it over back to you, Melody.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. No, and thanks for the reminder. Right. So in terms of the implementation framework, again, this is something that we have seen. This is the vision that Oracle started with back in early 2010s when the cloud was just evolving, Oracle Cloud. And their vision was to, based on what the customer wanted, that, hey, we want, because in the initial phase, most of them still had a lot of on-premise application, and even now it's true to a significant extent. They would say that we will take specific modules or suites within your offering, but we want to tie up, get the data from that or get the data into the cloud from our on-premise applications. And that's something that you should be able to do. That capability has existed right from the beginning, but that's evolved and got better, basically. And that's where from that on-premise sort of initial, where most of the data was still on-premise and the Oracle Product Cloud was filling in specific gaps in their product footprint. Now, it's increasingly, we are seeing that the Product Cloud itself manages quite a bit of that footprint. So we are seeing that customers, they often go for the entire SCM cloud. So the Product Cloud is from the ideation to the configurator, including the product development, etc. But then you can extend that to SCM cloud where you have inventory, purchase, and planning areas, the customer experience cloud, the ERP cloud, etc. We are seeing that increasingly in more and more customers. And of course, you still will have customers with a lot of these cloud applications, but with on-premise as well. And there are also a few other customers who have increasingly decided that let's move everything to the cloud, right? Whether it's across the space, from finance to HCM. Also here we have just shown supply chain, ERP, and CX clouds, but practically the entire application on Oracle Cloud. And interestingly, this is happening with the larger companies. They are like, why should we, the organization, have the capital expenditure of maintaining all that? Let it be Oracle's responsibility. And it's working out pretty well for them. There have been large case studies on that, where cloud-only deployments, etc. So that's the choice that each customer will make. But just to let you know that both Oracle and NexInfo can work across the model and framework that applies, that's relevant for the specific customer. Okay. Then next, I want to talk a bit about how we typically approach our implementation. I know it's a bit wordy, but I'll just try to walk through this quickly. So the key thing is we always try to get upfront with our customers and their subject matter experts. We try to understand their process, what are their current steps, current tools, etc. that they are using. We spend a lot of time initially listening, in the listening mode. Make sure that we are capturing the nuances, because often we have realized that, like with the SolidWorks example, we try to assess their comfort levels and make sure we try to make our recommendations, but we are respectful of the customer as well, because they might come to that a bit later, realization a bit later. So we work with them on that. Then based on this initial analysis, we conduct workshops, and where we try to be in the tool as much as possible. We try to model that in the cloud, but we also have slide decks, etc., so that because we at times may not be able to develop and show everything, but we try to give them a very good idea of what they are going to get, because seeing is believing. And then once they understand, then we develop the product cloud, and we model it, and then we do some initial presentations to them. We walk through the solution with the customer. They will suggest changes, etc. Then we typically, for a typical mid-range company, we work with one conference room pilot and one user acceptance test cycle, but it could vary. If a customer has more complex requirements, etc., we can discuss that with them and come up with more test cycles based on their needs. We also try to work on the data load right from the beginning. We give them the templates, and we try to be as proactive in getting the data filled in with the customer, so that, because we want to show them not just the configuration and the system, but with their data, because we have realized that seeing both the data and the process come together is when the customer starts believing, basically. So once we do all this, once we complete the test cycles, etc., we then train the key folks from the customer organization. We do very detailed training. We present recorded sessions to them, etc., and then so that they can then train their next level of user base. After this, we will, and through all this, we will be working with the Oracle sourcing organization, because there are different steps that goes into a typical cloud implementation. Right from the beginning, we will have a team that always is in touch with both Oracle and the customer to let them know at what stages what's to be expected. And then finally, we will have the production cutover. We then have a support phase where we briefly support the customer for an agreed time period. And for quite a few of our customers, we even offer long-term support, but that's based on the customer decision. Okay. And this is our typical team. It again varies depending on the complexity, but we have a project manager, a solution architect. We have teams for configuration and data loads, etc. And then we have our systems team who works, the project manager and systems team works closely with Oracle Cloud Services for this entire process of setup and transitioning through different environments, a dev environment, a test, and then a production environment. And I spoke about this 90 days at the beginning. We feel very comfortable in our methodology. And we have this plan that we go in with the customer. We, of course, fine-tune it for each customer. But we are confident that for most customers, we should be able to implement, we should be having them up and running 90 days from start to finish. Okay. So, Melody, that brings it to the end of my session. I will just move to the next slide and hand it back to you. Thank you very much. I would like to thank the audience for very patient listening. Much appreciated. Melody, back to you. Any questions before? Yeah. Any last minute questions?
Yes, please keep those questions coming. We have a few more minutes left here. We're going to stay on. So if you have any question, just plug it in and we'll answer that now. Thank you so much, Raj. That was a great educational, very informative workshop that you have delivered. Thank you to the audience. I know there's a lot of information there. So if there is anything that we missed, you can reach out back to me and we can address that on one-on-one. There is some offering for you. We're throwing a complimentary to our introductory training, and it'll be around the Oracle Product Cloud covering PD and PDH. This is only offered to our attendees, and it will end on April 7th. So if you're interested, you can go ahead and email me so we can schedule this with our expert in the next few weeks, whatever time is available. There is a question here, I believe, that came in, Raj. In this use case where the item definition or a BOM structure was managed in SolidWorks CAD, did you import the item and BOM directly from CAD into PD automatically? Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was the other question. All right, I didn't scroll down.
That was addressed already. Yeah.
How are country-specific BOMs determined in Oracle?
Okay. I would say it depends on your org setup. Okay. Let me answer it this way. If your inventory organizations are set up as per countries, then when you define the BOM in PD and then it comes over to PDH, that's the base definition, and you can add or remove items for the specific inventory organization. Okay, let me just quickly, give me a second. Let me show that here. I think, yeah, product cloud setup, right.
I see Satwan Verdi raised his hand. We'll get to you, Satwan,
Okay.
after Raj.
Yeah. So
answers this question.
you're seeing this item organizations, right, Melody? Hello.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. Now coming back to this question. So in this example, in fact, this coincided with org definition at the inventory org definition at the country level, coincidentally. I didn't plan for this, but here, this is an example where this customer said that we will have organizations at the country level. So automatically you are, when you go to PDH and you manage this items for each of these org, it goes to country level definition. That's one aspect of it. Okay. This sort of is built in for this company. But for other customers, even in that burger patty that I mentioned, even in PD level, you could say that forget PDH. This within PD, you could say this burger is for Canada, and you would have specific definitions, and you could have burger for Australia, etc. So those are different ways you can manage that. So this is not the only way. You can, in fact, many customers prefer to do country. In the pharma example that I mentioned, they were doing that country-specific definitions at the PD level itself, where it was very clear that in the top-level definition, that this BOM is, this top-level part is for this country, and all the items that go into the country are then managed under the BOM. So what I'm saying at the end of the day is you can manage it at PD level, which I think is preferred, but you can manage it at the PDH level because you may say that this country will have specific parts that don't apply to another country. So you can do that as well. And you can have just a sort of one common BOM in PD. Okay.
Raj, that was a mistake. So there's no one that raised their hand. And if you can bring me back to the very end.
Okay, I'll go back to the.
Yes. We want to thank
but where did the country definition come up? Because there was a country and all that, right?
Yes.
Anyway, okay.
Is there any follow-up question? We have 3 more minutes, but as a token of our appreciation, next slide, please.
Yeah.
As a token of our appreciation, we want to thank you again for sitting on a 2-hour workshop, and I hope you are walking away with a lot of good information. We are here to answer any more questions that might pop up even after the workshop. You can just go ahead and email me. So this will be electronically sent over to your email address. And again, thank you so much for attending. We'll stay on for just another couple of minutes if there is any other question that will come in. And then we will conclude our workshop. So Raj, let's just stay on for another couple of minutes, see if there's any other
Absolutely.
questions.
Absolutely.
All right. If you can go ahead and put our contact information slide after this, Raj, so they can make notes. And if you, any one of you are interested on a one-on-one, you can just go ahead and email me directly, or you can use the let's talk at nexinfo.com. You can give me a call directly. My phone number is not listed, but if you're still there listening, I'm at 714-653-8891. There's another question that came in here. Let's see if this is a question. Yes, it is a question. Raj, one more question here. Can you publish items cost from an on-prem ERP into PD Cloud? If my concept bombs, are we using items from ERP?
Okay. Conceptually, we could, but typically it would be unusual. It's more the other way that we have done for customers, where the BOM information comes from, goes from PLM to ERP rather, because ERPs tend to be, one is effective date, and also they tend to be very supply chain or implementation specific, whereas PLM tends to be more broad-based. But if the ERP definition is broad-based enough for this particular question, and if they think they want to move from ERP to PLM, we could consider that, definitely. It would be unusual. As I said, we move from PLM to ERP, rarely from ERP to PLM for BOM definition. Okay, it's on the other.
I think this will conclude our workshop today. And again, we want to thank all the audience attendees for today's workshop, PLM workshop, product cloud development workshop. We hope to hear from you. Thanks again, and have a great